Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday morning finance and budget chat. Um, Let me know if you have any specific topics that you want to talk about. Um, Otherwise, I think loosely the plan is to talk about some of the political things that are going on, some of the initiatives that are being proposed. I think that is the plan. And mostly because I haven't had a chance to look at those things. So I thought we could look at them together. We will also we'll talk about the movies a little bit because if Debbie is in here, she likes the little update from the little green guy. She wouldn't want to forget the little green guy. Okay, so I'm going to look first, let's look at the movies because that's kind of fun. Not that obviously, like I named the channel Shelly's Millions, obviously I think money is fun, but it's not always fun, right? Which I think is part of why some people don't learn about it. But I actually think it's fun, but not as fun as the movies. Okay, so let's share the screen here. And we'll look up what the number one movie was together. I'm really excited because I love Halloween. So we've got Halloween season coming up. I am not planning on spending any money. I think I already spent some money on that. I'll tell you what I got all in a second. Okay. Deadline movie grosses. Resume browsing. Oh, that's on YouTube. I don't want to look on YouTube. Okay, let's try that again. Deadline movie grosses. And if I didn't say this last week, Katie, thank you for the suggestion. Mom, you and I might need to do a video where we go through the contents, like where we unbox what you get in your in your senior box that they send you. Is it a commodity box? Whatever that's called. There might be some interest in just sharing what you get in those, but I don't know if we'll be able to make that video because I think we said that we weren't going to get those boxes once you move in here. So I don't know. I don't if we have one of those boxes though. Somebody suggested that we unbox and we share it. I know that there's another girl. My mom and I, sorry, my mom is moving in soon, and so that's what's on my mind. We are going to look at politics, and we'll look at the grosses in a second. But so Katie, first, thank you for that suggestion. And then I know that there's a girl on TikTok and she like unboxes and shares what she gets at the food bank. But again, I think so. My mom really likes going to the food bank. And my mom, on her own, even when she lives with me, would qualify, like she would meet the income thresholds, right? And plus, seniors qualify for help with their meals, even if there's not like budgetary concerns, because like the government wants to make sure that they're getting like balanced meals or something like that. So my mom would qualify based on her age, but I feel like I have enough money that we shouldn't go to the food bank, but it's something she enjoys. So I'm a little bit torn on whether I don't want to ever be perceived or I don't ever want to abuse the system. You know what I mean? So we have to talk about that. And then, like, me and my mom need to talk about that. It's also like with her food stamps, if she cooks the majority of her meals alone, I think she can just count her income. But if we start sharing meals, then we're supposed to include my income as well. And my mom's saying that the style of food we eat is different. Some of this, my gut instinct tells me that we will not take food stamps or go to the food bank or anything like that. Um, and we'll see how we do our meals. Like if she's really just eating all on her own and she's having to buy total separate groceries and all those kinds of things, then maybe, but I just feel like I personally wouldn't feel right about it. While we've legitimately been two separate households, I think it's fine. But once we're combined, I just feel like even if we don't sit down and eat together, that like I might be eating the leftovers. I don't want to do anything that could get us in trouble, right? I don't want to do anything where I'm questioning, is it right or is this wrong? And I think if it starts to feel like it's wrong, then it probably is wrong and we shouldn't do that. But if we do still get like a food commodities box, or if we do get anything from the food bank, based on my mom's age, not on the combined income level, since she'll be living with me, then I think people would like to see that. So that's kind of all I'm saying. All right, let's find these movie grosses. And see. All right. Oh, this is, I kind of want to look at this, but nope, that's not the article. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oof. That's not a good headline. Okay. Since I work in the movies, and this is kind of a money topic, we'll talk about this for a second. So, Joker, Folie à Deux, is not having like it's not having a good opening. But so I haven't seen it yet. I want to. I enjoyed the first Joker. I had AMC A-List when the first Joker came out, and I saw it like on the big screen on Thursday on opening night. This is not a great opening, probably for the amount of money that they spent to make the movie. And I guess what I'm hearing is it's a musical. Now, here's where I think maybe the marketing went wrong. I'm not sure a lot of people knew that it was a musical. So I think I like musicals. So I feel like I would enjoy it. So I feel like if I go in, that I would like it, even though it's a musical. So I don't know. Has anybody seen it? Let me know in the comments, in the chat, if you've seen it. Mom, maybe you can let me know if you want to see it. And here's the other thing is people said, oh, there's no singing in the first one. But see this scene on the stairs? Didn't he sing on the stairs in the first one? So maybe that scene, I don't know. Anyway, okay, Sunday morning. This isn't a box office marketplace problem. This is a creative development problem, declared one movie-going marketing vet this weekend over Warner Brothers' bold swing with a foul, Joker, Folie à Deux, which at a production cost of $190 million is coming in way, way, way below forecast at $39 million. Steeper than the $47 million, which was spotted by The Town yesterday. Warner is reporting $40 million this morning. Others see it lower. Amazingly, the studio's overseas $80 million projection held up, with what's coming in at $81.1 million opening. Total worldwide at $121.1, not $140 million. Now, these movies, though, I don't know about the drop off in other countries, but here in the US, a movie tends to drop off about 60% from opening week to its second week. Hi, Levon. Good to see you. I always love seeing regulars in here. I hope you are doing well. Levon, you don't live in California, right? Just hoping that anybody who was affected by the hurricane is safe. So hopefully, Levon, you do not live near that hurricane. If you do, I'm glad that you're to see you in here. Just really wishing everybody the best with that right now. Okay. So if anybody was betting on Joker Folie à Deux as being a winning tentpole in their fantasy box office league a year out, well, sorry, you just lost a ton of cash. This sequel based on DC Comics character is one of the lowest sequel openings in memory to a major franchise based on a comic book. It's certainly lower than the start of Marvel Studios' bomb last fall, The Marvels, and that was $46.1 million. More people saw Marvels at 3.3 million admissions in its opening weekend versus Joker 2's 2.5 million per Intelligence. Okay, so then it talks about some other lower grossing movies. Oh no, that's not a good comparison. Well, okay, let's read this. The only nice thing you can say about Joker Folie à Deux's opening here is that when it comes to movie musicals, its stateside start is bigger than the entire domestic gross of Cats. Well, that's something. Okay, Friday's 20 million, which includes previews. Previews are when it comes out on a Thursday, and Saturday dropped 45% to 11.4 million, as if Batman himself was throwing Joker off a building, not the 20% decline many were seeing, even outside Warner's. Everyone was so serious about this movie being front loaded. That means people see it more on like Thursday, Friday, and then it slows over the weekend. If there was ever a sign about the nervousness with this movie ahead of opening, it was when stars Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga doing a very limited amount of press on the red carpet at the LA premiere. Not to mention, they arrived at the after party at Sunset Tower last Monday and got the heck out of there. No point in lingering if you know a hurricane's coming. The failure of Joker Folie à Deux is as clear as an azure sky of deepest summer. No fan of the original movie wanted to see a musical sequel. There isn't enough lipstick to put on this Joker to indicate it's any kind of win. Okay, sorry. I wanted to see what the other movies were in the top 10, and maybe that's not gonna tell me this week. Anyway, so this should be enough still to land it in the number 1 movie spot. If I can find that. No, this is all about Joker. Oh, anyway, so Joker is going to be that number. Is it though? Did it beat Robots? Okay. Let me see if you guys have any questions. If not, I'm going to keep. You live in Illinois. Okay. Good. Out of harm's way. All right. Hello to the 6 of you in here. Please make sure to like the video. We are going to talk a little bit today about some of the politics, some of the proposals, and how that might affect our finances, right? So I think that there's a home buyer proposal. Let's look at that real quick. Kamala home buyer. That should be enough. Okay, so again, I am not super up on politics. During the pandemic, I really studied unemployment and the EDD and all of that. And I got really good at it. But in my heart, I don't love politics. I think that they have a really hard job, right? I think that there's a lot of different ways to accomplish things. I think that there's a lot of opinions on how to get things done. And I think it's really tricky to try and I don't think there is one way to go about it. So we're all just trying to choose the way that we think is best, right? And we're trying to do that with our votes. But what I've heard is that there is a down payment support, right? This is what I knew before Googling this, and I'm sort of skimming what I've just Googled. I saw that there was some home assistance for buying a first-time home that Kamala wants to implement. And then some, so let's just try and read something about that. Okay, let's just try and do, I don't know. I want to try and find something neutral, but I'm not entirely sure which of these would be a neutral article. I think I'm going to read the Forbes article because they're known as, being like a financial publication. So I feel like maybe they're just going to promote it. Oh boy. No, I don't want to get a legacy pass. Okay. Do I? No. Oh my goodness. Okay. Why Kamala Harris's $25,000 plan, house down payment plan, isn't a disaster. Okay. Oh no, look at all these ads. Maybe this is not the article. Okay. So when the presidential candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris, announced her intention to create a plan to give lower income first time home buyers $25,000 for a down payment, critics wailed. The major point is worth considering, but it's a theoretical risk as there are extensive examples of how such long existing government programs at various levels have worked. The desire to buy a house comes from two directions. One, people are told is to build wealth. The suggestion may seem sound, and people do grow their net worth that way, but a house you own is almost always where you live. It's not a it's not a property disposable at whim because you then need to find another place to live. It's not a retirement account or an emergency fund. And I just would like to stop and say that a lot of you guys have heard me say that recently I have acquired my goal of becoming a millionaire in net worth. But all of that is very, um, it can fluctuate. I'm definitely counting the estimated value of my house in that amount. If I didn't count that amount, I'd probably be sitting at a retirement fund of about 350,000, I'm going to say. That might even be a little bit high. But it's somewhere in that range. That's what I have saved through my 401k since I was 21. What puts me into that $1 million net worth, right? Because that's a huge discrepancy. We're talking almost 700,000. That is the equity in this house. But like one of my coworkers said to me, he's like, Shelly, you can't count that, not really, unless you're ready to sell your house, which I'm not. Um, I will say that for me, I have a 15-year fixed mortgage at like a 2.75% interest rate, which is really great, right? My whole mortgage payment here in Los Angeles, California is less than $1,100. It's almost at 1,100, but just below that. My mom wants to pay me some rent when she moves in. By the way, mom, if you're listening, first month free rent special. If you'd like to redeem that, you can have your first month's free of rent while we get everything figured out. So move-in special just for you, mom. So um, that's where a lot of my net worth comes from. But my expenses are really low. I know that I made the right decision because soon my house will be paid off. I'm no longer paying extra on the house. I'm not trying to pay it down any faster because my philosophy on money has changed. I also want to say to anybody that's tuning in, that's listening about this 25,000 down payment assistance. Again, when I was talking about unemployment, I used to try and think, well, this isn't fair, right? This program wasn't available to me when I was buying a house, but I try not to look at it that way. I don't think that's productive. I think that how I choose to look at it is this something that is beneficial to society going forward? Because at some point, I mean, we don't have to help others, but like it's nice to help others and it is hard to save money. So for down payment for a house. So let's see. Um the truest values have nothing to do with renting. Someone cannot turn you out on a whim because they want to replace you with a family member or someone who might pay more. That is something that concerns me, especially here in California. It seems like a lot of people buy houses and where there's people already living there, and then they kick the existing tenants out. And some of them are elderly. And, if you've been paying $600 a month in rent, and then all of a sudden you get kicked out and you have to try and your rent triples, a lot of people just are not going to be able to do that. Every day here in LA, we pass homeless people, and so many of them appear to be senior citizens. And that's just really sad to me to think that that our seniors are on the streets. And you guys, I don't have kids, I don't have a husband. That's something that I mean, like, I have my house, but I do worry that something could happen to me when I'm older. Like, so that is part of what drives me to want to save my money and try and invest my money and try and grow my money and all those things. So I don't want to worry when I'm older. Okay, so you do pay interest on the mortgage and you may see increases in taxes or insurance. Yeah, and this year insurance for me more than doubled. And taxes go up about 2% a year. But the base cost of your home doesn't increase annually, as is the case with a rental. The graph below from the FRED system of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis shows the year-over-year growth in rent of primary residences. Oh, this is crazy. This is probably showing up like pretty little because it's got all these ads. But we can see how high that is. Like, even if we can't quite see this chart, percentage. Oh, guys, maybe I need my glasses for that. That's too little. I can't even read it. What if I make it bigger? Okay, let's see here. Nope, that didn't help. The federal. I can't read the chart. All right, the print's too tiny. But we can see this arrow like shooting up, right? And that's probably not good. Okay, once you bought a house, the price doesn't increase each year as rent does, even though rent payments currently are lower than average house payments. Eventually, they aren't because they keep rising. Rent increases are slowing, but in 2023, they were almost 8%. And I see an 8 here, so I think that's what that is. They're almost 8% higher than in 2022. I don't know, maybe that's not what that is. I wish we could read this. The percent change from year ago. Okay, that's the percent change from year ago. We have 0 down in 2010, and then all the way up to 8 in 2024. Okay. Sorry. Okay. In 2023, they were almost 8% higher than in 2022. At that rate, using the rule of 70, divide 70 by the rate of increase to find out how long before something doubles in value. Within 9 years, your rent doubles. Plus, every time you move, other things like the quality of apartments being equal, there's an extra rent boost. However, houses have become ridiculously expensive. Here is Census Bureau data, again via the St. Louis Fed, on median U.S. house sale prices. And that looks like it's over 400,000, but less than 500,000, which is really, really a lot. I bought my house in right here about 2011. And even then, the average house price looks like it was 200,000, and mine I only bought for 128,000. Anyway, in the second quarter of 2024, that's 412,300. Even if you're eligible for a 5% down loan, you still need 20,614 plus significant closing cost according to CoreLogic. The 2021 national average mortgage closing cost for a single family property, including transfer taxes, was $6,905. That's a tough nut if you don't have the financial resources. A first-time homeowner means someone who hasn't owned a home in 3 years. So I just want to kind of clarify some of this. Okay, Scattershot 8 says homebuyer program sounds similar to 2008, 2009, where you have to pay back a certain amount every year through your income tax, not free money. Yeah, and I've heard of another program, and I'm not sure if this is it, which is why I wanted to read this today, where you would pay back that money like when you sell your house. So I definitely want to look into that as well. Yeah, like what's the catch, right? If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. But maybe that's why people are saying that the plan isn't as bad as that the other side's trying to make it out to seem. Like I know that they're saying, oh, it's just a handout, right? So let's just keep reading. So a first-time homeowner means someone who hasn't owned a home in 3 years. So if I sold my house and I rented for 3 years, then I could be considered a first-time homeowner again. A single parent who previously only owned a home with a former spouse, a person whose home didn't have a permanent foundation, or a displaced homemaker. The latter means previously being a stay at home mom or dad who is unemployed or underemployed, no longer receives support from a spouse, and plans to find a job and start a career. Um, I do want to say one of the things that really helped me decide about buying a house was it was called mortgagecalculatorx.org, I think. I think that's the website. Mortgagecalculatorx.org. And you can put in like how much the house cost, how much the down payment is, what you think your interest rate's going to be. And it tells you like the amount of house that you can afford. And what I did is I worked backwards, right? Forget about, oh, they say your housing cost. It used to be that they said your housing cost should be 25% of your income or your gross take home pay. Gross net. Your net pay. Your rent should only be 25% of your take home pay. Now they're saying, oh, 30% of your take home pay because like basically they were like, oh, it's not realistic. It's not that they suddenly think that like it should be a higher percentage of your take home pay. It's that they realized that like 25% was not attainable. And so they made it adjustable so that it could perhaps be a more attainable goal. But for me, I just knew the amount I was comfortable with, right? If I'm paying this much in rent and I knew that I was okay and comfortable and I could pay my light bill and I could pay my cell phone bill without struggling, that's the number I was aiming for. So I used to pay $1,000 rent, so I knew that I could afford $100 more. So that's how I knew what I was comfortable with. I think I've shared this story before too. When I first financed my house, I financed it at a 30-year loan to keep my payments small. My interest rate was still good. I think it was 4%. They say it's worth refinancing your house if you can save 1% or more in interest. So for me, it went from 4% down to 2.75%. So that was a savings just in the interest rate when I refinanced. But also, I had never owned a home before. And there were things that my mom used to tell me that I don't know if they turned out to be true. But she said, Shelly, it's going to cost you a house, cost more in electricity to power up basically than an apartment. And maybe that would be true if I went from a small apartment to like a big house, but I went from a similar size apartment to the similar size house and there was no increase in the utilities that I saw. There is some upkeep fees like I do pay a gardener. I didn't when I first moved in. When I first moved in, just took a weed whacker and I used that to trim all the grass. But I don't even do that anymore. I do pay somebody for that. And I pay pest control. There are a few other expenses like that I pay that I didn't when I was renting, but I'm able to afford those okay. But I didn't know what they were going to be initially. And so I was overly cautious. So for me, it's more about the bottom line monthly cost than it was about the down payment. I did something that they say you shouldn't do. I borrowed money, took a loan out from my 401k, but I've now repaid that. You pay it back to yourself at like a 4% interest rate. But they say you shouldn't do that. They say like borrowing money against your 401k is like stealing from your future self. So I've never calculated like how much I lost by taking that money out at the time. And I think I took out about 28,000 from my 401k to have as a down payment for the house. But they say that that's bad. So it would have been nice to have this kind of help. Okay, so Harris's call for 25,000 down payment assistance to first-time low-income homebuyers has set up a lot of teeth gnashing by those who think it's unwise. They're sure that will drive up cost of all house prices. I don't know if that's true. In theory, the concern isn't completely off base. In 2015, according to a Federal Reserve Bank of New York study, schools heavily dependent on students who benefited from the effects of increases in federal aid caps raised tuition by about 65 cents for each additional dollar in financial aid that Congress made available to students. However, the critics are ignoring a few things. Buyers from wealthier families also often get assistance in purchasing a first home. Does that not cause them concern? Also, they're acting as if such low income first time home buyer programs haven't been around at the federal, state, and local levels for many years. A Forbes Advisor article from last year has some extensive listings of such programs. We might want to check that out in a second. Let me know if you want me to click that link. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. You guys like the video and let me know if we should click the extensive listing of like home buying assistance programs. Maybe that should be too many video ideas and not enough time. Anyway, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. You guys let me know if you want me to click that link. Or the other thing politically that I wanted to look into is Kamala Harris's plan on taxing unrealized capital gains. And I can go into explaining what all that is. So let me know if you want me to click the list of extensive listings for housing purchasing programs, or if we should switch topics and look at the unrealized capital gains. Yeah, if critics haven't thrown up their hands in panic over decades, maybe they should admit that down payment assistance hasn't proven a terrible danger, especially as mortgage lenders, not sellers, know where the buyers get their money. The sellers don't know whether this is a case when they can hike the sales price and setting the asking price for a much more sensitive, complex decision. Okay, that didn't really tell me though. Okay, let me see what you guys, okay, I don't see that you guys have any preference which topic I stay on. Maybe what I will do, so I was looking at like, do you have to repay this? Who qualifies? That kind of thing. This article did not contain that. I think my plan, I do want to switch gears. I would like to see if I can do that. But I think what I'm going to do, oh no, what just happened? Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'll just link to this article so that you guys can check that out if you would like. So let me post this comment. That is the website that you guys can go to. Unrealized gains sounds, oh. See, but I'm not sure if it is, and that's why I want to look into it. Now, scattershot. So I'm trying, like I've hit $1 million in net worth, but most of it's in my 401k. So does that count? Like, am I taxed? So when you invest in a 401k, it's pre-tax dollars, but I'm hoping that money gains when it's in there. And then I think that I can pull it out as long as I'm more than 59 and a half, without paying taxes on it. But I don't know about the gains. And then I do have like a regular Robinhood brokerage account with about $20,000 in there. I wonder if it works the other way towards losses. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's keep looking at this housing program because I do want to see if we can try and figure out who would qualify for Kamala Harris home buyer program. Okay. Should we just do... Okay, this article looks like it's going to do it in a negative light. So I feel like the last article we read was no, I do. Let's just see it. Let's see if the CNBC article works. Starter home tax breaks aid for first-time buyers. What to know about Harris's affordable housing proposals. Other proposals include tax incentives to build more homes and down payment assistance for first-time buyers. Affordable housing is the cornerstone of the opportunity economy that Vice President Kamala Harris sketched out last week. Harris's economic policy pitch included proposals to lower the cost of owning and renting a home. Trump and Harris both want no taxes on tips. That's interesting. I'm just trying to see like who would qualify. The initiative would complement neighborhood homes tax credit, which would be created by a bill pending in Congress called the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. A tax credit, which has strong bipartisan support, would promote the creation and rehabilitation of starter homes for sale in distressed communities. It's hard to define what a starter home is. What is this? Okay. The list of Harris's proposals also includes a $40 billion innovation fund. The money would empower local governments to fund and support local solutions to build housing. Okay. And the aid for first-time home buyers has less support. Assistance to first-time homeowners who have paid rent on time. So, okay, that's one requirement we found. They need to have paid their rent on time for 2 years, with more generous support for qualifying first-generation homeowners. The proposal stems from an idea that Biden-Harris administration presented earlier this year, which called on Congress to implement a $25,000 in down payment assistance exclusively for 400,000 first-generation buyers or first-time buyers whose parents weren't homeowners, and a $10,000 tax credit for first-time buyers. Harris's blueprint would apply to all first-time buyers and broaden the reach to more than 4 million qualifying applicants over 4 years. But there's not a lot of bipartisan support. During an August 16th appearance on Fox Business, Senator Tim Scott, RSC, said that Harris's $25,000 down payment assistance will only make the demand higher with the supply not moving, which means that prices will go up, fewer people are going to be able to afford it, and frankly, unless they're going to embed financial literacy in any program, it only means there will be a higher level of default. To help renters, Harris has addressed 2 pieces of pending legislation. She called on Congress to pass the Stop Predatory Investing Act, a bill that calls for removing key tax benefits for those who own 50 or more single-family properties. This initiative would curtail major investors from buying up large sums of single-family rental homes. Meanwhile, the Preventing the Algorithmic Facilitation of Rental Housing Cartels Act would crack down on companies who use algorithmic systems to fix market rent prices. Okay, so this still doesn't necessarily say who would qualify. Ugh, which is annoying. Okay, let's look a little bit about the unrealized gains, just because I'm curious. Okay. Well, no, sorry. I do want to look. Would homeowners, oh my goodness. Sorry, my computer's at a weird. Homeowners need to repay the $25,000 loan homebuyer program. Let's see. What does that say? Would homeowners need to repay the $25,000 loan for Kamala Harris? It doesn't say. Should we look at the Reddit article? feel like maybe we should. August 20th. We just read that one. Let's see. All right, let's see. Let's see what Reddit says. I don't know if we can trust this because it's not like a news source, but okay. Oh no, see, this is just asking if it's gonna raise it. This is what it says. I'm not looking to start a political debate. Generally curious what professional economists would say about this. The constant refrain on Twitter is that this 25K subsidy is going to raise home prices by 25K. I feel like this is not how the housing market works, but what do I know? Let's just read the top comment. In micro, subsidies typically shift demand outward, so the new intersection of supply and demand would have a higher price. But since supply is upward sloping, the price increase would be less than 25K. Additionally, since first-time home buyers only make up 32% of all home buyers, this effect would be even smaller. In short, prices would likely increase by less than the amount of the subsidy. That's what they think on Reddit. Maybe we don't have... Is it a grant? When will the program be available? Who qualifies? Let's see. Let's see. If passed, you may get up to $25,000. Eligibility requirements. There we go. Okay. Whew. First-time home buyer. Grant funds are meant for first-time home buyers, and this is if that passes, who are purchasing a primary residence. To qualify as a first-time home buyer, you must not have owned or co-signed on a mortgage loan in the past 3 years. Owned? What if you own your home? What if I owned this house for 3 years? Then would I qualify again? First generation home buyer. These grant funds are also reserved for first generation buyers. You can qualify for this program if your parents, legal guardian, spouse, domestic partner have not owned a home in the past 3 years. This requirement is waived for all home buyers who have previously lived in foster care and fall within the program's income limits, reinforcing the inclusive nature of the Biden first-time homebuyer initiative. Household income limits. The Down Payment Towards Equity Act is limited to potential homeowners who earn less than 120% of the area median income. However, in high-cost real estate markets, buyers may qualify if they earn up to 180% of the area median income. Property types. You can use grant funding to purchase a single-family home, condo, or manufactured home, aka a mobile home, aka a trailer. You can also purchase a multi-unit home with up to 4 units, provided you live in one of the units while renting out the others. However, you cannot use the Down Payment Towards Equity Act grant to purchase a second home or rental property. Mortgage loans. The $25,000 cash grant is available for any conventional loan that Freddie Mae or Fannie Mac guarantee. Furthermore, the Down Payment Towards Equity Act will apply to all qualified mortgages, including FHA, VA, USDA, and Section 184 loans, making it a versatile part of the Biden first-time homebuyer plan. 5-year residency. You must live in the home for at least 5 years to remain qualified for the program. If you sell the home sooner, you'll have to repay part or all of the funding. However, if your profit from the sale is less than your repayment amount, you are not required to repay it. Interesting. Housing counseling course. Eligible homebuyers must also complete a HUD-approved homebuyer education course. Most courses are estimated to take 90 minutes or less. You can find home counseling agency by visiting the online HUD.gov website, which provides a searchable database of approved agencies nationwide. And then there's some down payment assistance alternatives. Will it pass? And see, this is saying that this is the Biden one, but this article is from September 10th, so less than a month ago, and it does say if passed. So, yeah. Okay. It doesn't say anything about repaying it. All right. Let's go ahead and look at the unrealized gains thing. We'll do CNN. No, we're going to do the CNBC. All right, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. You guys like the video, please. And let me know if you're enjoying this. Sounds like a good plan. Any chance of passing is with a Harris one? Yes, that is correct. That would be correct. But people are talking about it negatively. And so I was just like, why are people like hating on this plan? So it seems to be that the problem is not necessarily, the gripe isn't necessarily with helping first-time owners, but the gripe seems to be that they think that offering this assistance will raise home prices. So that seems to be the main issue. Okay, now we're switching to Harris's plan to tax unrealized investment gains means for the wealthiest Americans. Is it wrong to say? So here's the thing, right? And you hear a lot of people say this. You hear people say, oh, well, the Republicans are looking out for my money, and I hope to have enough money one day. When we're talking about wealthiest, we're not talking about somebody like me who has a little bit of money saved up in their 401k. Like, in one sense, $1 million in net worth, which is about where I'm at, is a huge sum of money. I'm proud of that, right? But I'm almost 50. I hope to retire when I'm 62. That gives me about 15 more years in the workforce. And in theory, these should be like my highest earning years. But even if I retired and I have a net worth of 3 million, I'm not going to be one of the highest. I'm not going to be one of the wealthiest. Like, I always talk about this when I talk about somebody having $1 billion. Somebody like Graham Stephan, who has a successful YouTube channel, right? I don't know what his net worth is like these last couple of years. I haven't followed it. But back when I was following it, he had a net worth of about 10 million. 10 million. It would take 10 of those to get to 100 million. To be a billionaire, you have to have 999 million plus another million. $100 million is a billion. Is that right? I think so. No, not 100 billion. 999. So like 1,000 million. Is that right? It's a lot. It's a whole lot. Like, most of us don't have that kind of money. And so I feel like there is a huge part of me that it sucks because I feel like on the one hand, if you earn that money and it's yours, you should be able to do what you want with it. But on the other hand, if you have that much money, like, please help people, right? Like, why wouldn't you help people? It seems almost greedy to not help people, like they encourage us to donate and support causes and things like that. I just donated to my friend who's doing the AIDS walk, right? I donate to like GoFundMe's. I donate to animal shelters. Like, I make a little over 70,000 a year. And I donate what I can now, and I just don't know, right? I don't know, like, how I feel about ultra wealthy people just being like, well, it's my money. I don't want somebody else telling me how to spend it. Because here's another thing that I also think. I think for the most part, like, if I just got my whole paycheck and they were like, okay, donate what you feel you can afford, I might not feel like I can afford anything. And that's kind of what taxes are for. They're to make sure that, like, we help solve the problems that need solved. At least that's kind of how I look at it. Okay, let's see what the big cheese has to say. How have I been? What's new? You got a new exciting Porsche Carrera. Wow, it makes you feel like a VIP each time I drive now. All right, well, keep care of that thing. Is it expensive to insure? How much gas? And I hope it runs for a long, long time, but it's bringing you enjoyment, and I do approve of that. You know what? I should start sharing what I'm reading with you guys, or more appropriately, listening to on audiobooks. I've gotten real into audiobooks right now. I am currently reading a book, listening to a book called Die with Zero. And Die with Zero is about not saving so much because you can't take it with you, kind of. But like being responsible and trying to like actually figure out how to die with zero. And it's not about like not leaving anything to the kids. It's like maybe giving it to the kids before the parents have passed away. Okay. Ben says, do I ever feel like rich people are rich because they are actually very tight with their money and live very modestly? That's why they're able to get so rich. I'm torn, Ben. That is a great question. I used to think yes, but I am now watching a lot of YouTube videos from wealthier creators, right? Somebody that I'm watching on YouTube right now, her name is Cody Sanchez. I'm really liking Cody Sanchez's videos. She's sharing about, she's the one that got me thinking that I wanted to buy a laundromat. So I'm just going to keep putting that out there. I would like to buy a laundromat from someone who's elderly that just doesn't want to do it anymore. And, but she's trying out like all sorts of businesses like porta potty rentals and, I don't know, just all sorts of things. She kind of says nobody has ever saved their way to being really wealthy. Um, and I wouldn't say that I'm really tight with my money, right? I probably could have invested more. I probably could have been tight. And I mean, it also is going to depend on your salary, right? If somebody's making around $70,000, it's going to be really hard to say. Like, I feel like I'm a pretty good example of living frugally. Like, I don't, buy new cars. I don't spend like crazy amounts of money on clothes and shopping and things like that. I don't, but I have places in my own budget where I could cut back. I do go to restaurants. Maybe I use Uber Eats a little bit more than I should. Um, Sometimes we pay convenience fees, they call them. So I think I have some of that going on where I could improve my budget. But even if I did that, right, and I've been saving since I was 21, I have about 300,000, 350,000 in my 401ks and across all those accounts. Even though like I'm at the height of my earning years, I just and the interest will compound. I don't know that I'll actually get like super rich. So what they're saying is how the people that I'm listening to are saying that people really get ultra wealthy is by becoming an investor, right? Becoming an entrepreneur. And by investor, I don't mean in the stock market. I mean in a business. They become business owners and that kind of thing. Um, a lot of people do it by buying properties and becoming a landlord. Like they're no longer like really working for a company, just like clocking in and out. They are running their own businesses. They're taking chances and like building it from the ground up. Some of those businesses are failing, but I have always grown up with the saying that like people who start a business, even if it fails, they're more likely long term to be successful because they've gained the skills from the failing business that set them up to do it better the next time successfully. So I think there's some truth in that basically. Okay. Scattershot says wealthy people hardly pay any social security taxes. Wealthy people have a lot of loopholes. Wealthy people use more public resources, roads, etc. to become wealthy. Just want them to pay their fair share. Yeah. And that's how I also feel. However, it's interesting because I share that sentiment, right? But something that people always bring up is Trump's taxes and how he doesn't pay more. I would encourage all my viewers to get every tax break that they possibly can. Like if it was available, yes, scattershot. I will pin this comment. Next week, would I look at the 50,000 small business Harris proposal? Yes. And that's something that interests me. Something too that I want to mention is a lot of these programs, because I feel like it's a tax credit. And I want to say that tax credits are different than tax, but I don't know a lot about this, so don't quote me. We will research this next week. But a tax credit or tax rebate, those mean that like if you owe taxes, then that offsets it. And sometimes it's like for like 5 years or something like that. So like if I owe $10,000 in taxes every year, it lowers it by 10,000. But sometimes depending on Trump cheats on taxes, that's different. Yeah, I would never encourage people to cheat, but I would encourage people to take every legal tax break that they can, right? If I could pay zero taxes, I would. Okay, but anyway, so the 50,000 for small business, I think it's a credit. So I don't think it's like you get 50,000 to invest in your business. I think it's like if you owe on your taxes, it would like then you wouldn't owe 50,000 on your taxes. For someone like me, right? And my YouTube channel counts as a small business, but I don't owe, like I almost always get a rebate or a refund on my taxes. And even when I owe, it's like even if it was over 5 years, I wouldn't be able to like redeem the 50,000 for small businesses. But let's look at that next week. Let's really quickly I guess look at this unrealized investment gains means for the wealthiest Americans. I'm more interested in what it means for me, right? I think, I'm just being honest here. A lot of people, we care about how it affects us, not necessarily how it affects others. But just because I haven't really read much, I haven't had time, you guys, to get up on this stuff. So I am curious about this. Okay, so the key points. Harris in August endorsed the tax increases proposed by Joe Biden in his fiscal year 2025 budget. One of the proposals is a 25% minimum tax on total income, including so-called unrealized gains or asset growth exceeding 100 million. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop reading that. Well, okay, I'm going to stop reading it because we're near the hour mark. We should always read the whole article. But sure, I'm sorry. If you have made more than $100 million in the stock market and it's unrealized because you haven't taken that money out, sure, tax it. If anybody's making like more than 100 million in the stock market yeah, let's go ahead and tax that. I'm okay with that. I don't even know what the tax is, but just tax it. And maybe that's because like the deficit, like I don't know, maybe we need to read a little bit more. I'm like, maybe this is because maybe the thought process behind this is that we're in a really big federal deficit, right? Like we owe like trillions of dollars in debt. So maybe the thought process is if we tax some of the money on the unrealized gains now, we could use that money to pay down our national debt. Like, what are we going to use that money for? If the provision is enacted, taxpayers with wealth above the 100 million threshold would have to report unrealized gains for each asset class annually, including the basis or original purchase price and market value as of December 31st. They would also report total liabilities. So that would mean like if your stock portfolio goes down like mine has. The plan has failed to gain broad congressional support and could face administrative challenges. All right, actually, okay, maybe we'll look at this again next week as well as the 50,000 small business. because I do need to head out today. We've been going for an hour. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching Shelly's Millions. We will check back in on some of these political topics next week, and that'll be perfect because we'll be getting closer to the election. All right. So I will see you guys next Sunday at 11 a.m. where we go live to talk about money, finance, budget, sometimes how the politics are going to affect our finances and budget. I'll do the movie reviews for Debbie and just, some general life updates about, well, we're getting really close to my mom moving in as well. So I'm sure we'll talk about that. All right. I will see you guys next week. Thanks so much for watching Shelly's Millions.